ああ、やっぱりそういうことなのね。ま、言いたいことはいろいろあるけど、今はそれどころじゃないし。ええ、了解したわ。他ならぬあっちゃんの頼みだし、特殊な例だけど、彼はこちらで保護しましょう。
Okay.
Alice nodded and began walking to the door.
アリス、
ダメよ、宗十郎さん。
Sit. Stay. Good boy. As Soujuuro was about to follow Alice, Ritsuka stepped in his way.
あなたは行ってはいけません。彼女たちに任せなさい。
But I wanna see, she asserted bluntly. Meanwhile, Alice had reached the door and entered further into the chapel.
行ってはいけないって。どうして？
あなたのためよ。青子の容体は普通の人が見ていいものじゃない。気分を悪くするだけ。
Dang, what happened to her?
Yeah, I wanna see.
それとも嫌な思いをしてもいいくらい
Yeah, that.
青子が心配なのかしら。
Why are you giving him an excuse?
Soujuuro wasn't able to give an immediate answer. It had finally hit him just how bad a state Aoko must be in. Based on Alice's condition when he found her, he intuited that Aoko's injuries might be even worse. He tried to imagine her expression in that state, but couldn't.
青崎相手に心配なんかしません。
Literally, he had never been worried about her before. Not truly.
でも
You just always assume she can pull something out?
はい。
Oh.
He answered her reflexively. Ritsuka sighed at the boy's naivety, but nonetheless stepped aside.
どうぞ行ってらっしゃい。アリスさんが使ったドアから入って4番目の部屋よ。今一番取り込んでる頃だから、ゆいちゃんの邪魔だけはしないように。
Wait, is Yui the blind one?
Yeah, Yuika is the...
Why are we letting the blind person care for the critically injured?
I don't know. I don't think she's actually blind. I think that's just the never... Like she's just drawn with eyes closed to make her look
No,
sketchy.
I'm pretty sure they said she was blind.
I don't think they said that out loud, but...
Soujuuro thanked her and went after Alice, leaving Ritsuka Susei, the self-proclaimed everybody's friendly neighbor, alone.
Huh.
さて、ゆいかあたりなら止めるんでしょうけど、ま、私は宗十郎さんの味方だし、傷つく男の子とか大好物だし。
Well, he's a little messed up.
Okay, so what was up with the whole Hanazawa thing?
That is her, right?
Yeah.
From when he was cleaning
少
windows?
々スパルタと自覚しておりますが、これも親切な姉心と思って、宗十郎さんには後悔していただきましょう。
Alright. She said to nobody.
She spoke with force, but her words echoed aimlessly around the chapel. With a sigh, she shrugged her shoulders and made the sign of the cross in a rather unpious manner. The sound of Sojuro's footsteps grew fainter. His lack of hesitation had left a pain in her heart, not because he didn't look back at her, but because he was choosing to ignore the primal fear inside him.
The fear that she's super badly hurt or something?
An elderly man once said, "An animal's death cry and a human's..."
Or just an animal's death.
An animal's death and a human's are two different things. You may think they're the same, but they differ to their core. Our heads have known the difference since the dawn of man. An animal's corpse, be it a pig's or a deer's, is different. If the swing of an axe or a machete is violent, then so must a human corpse be. What?
Well, keep going.
Therefore, before you see one with your own eyes, you should at least understand it with your ears. What? Listen closely, Soujuuro.
Ah, okay, so this is from the mountain, I guess.
When a person dies, blood flows like a crimson river. It's too much to bear. And people, they die when they're killed.
Well, hang on, let's see where they're going with this.
Perhaps because he wasn't used to the stone path beneath his feet. Soujuuro's mind wandered back to the words he'd heard as a child.
Oh?
The instant he opened the door, there was a palpable change in the air. The room was small, with only a simple bed and a small wooden dresser. And there, on the bed, 4 underscores was lying on her side. Tending to her was a woman he'd just seen in the chapel, Ritsuka.
What?
Sorry?
You mean... Huh?
How?
No, that's Yuika.
That's Yuika. No, she only looked a lot like her.
Oh, I guess they're supposed to look similar?
Her eyes were closed and her garments covered in blood.
Oh.
He'd just met her maybe once before. Yuika Suse.
Ah, they're sisters.
A nun at the church. She was doing something to 4 underscores.
Yes, they're censoring that because his mind can't take it or something.
Yuika held a pair of scissors and some thread. Her hands moved delicately yet quickly as though playing an organ. Her movements were precise, as if flawlessly reading sheet music. One by one, the supply of bandages diminished. Bandages recently applied to the wounds were quickly replaced with fresh ones. Gauze was placed everywhere to try and cope with the amount of blood. Once white cloth was now dyed red and discarded. The dressings scattered around the floor resembled roses. In a wilted rose garden, the nun played her organ. The scene looked unlike any reality Soujuuro knew. It was clear why the air had changed. There was a savage odor in the room. Even though he was experiencing it for the first time, he knew what it was. The smell burned his lungs. He couldn't bring himself to look at the bed. Fighting his feelings, his eyes refused to move there. He noticed Alice next to the bed. Her ever expressionless, she looked like a statue next to a grave, except she was trembling ever so slightly. It could have been from fear, anxiety, rage, or a combination of the 3. Before her lay a life on the verge of death. But whose life? It was difficult to tell with only a glance. Some sort of puppet covered in bandages, perhaps. Her hair should be beautiful, but it fell flat, disheveled. Despite her short breaths, her chest convulsed. Up, down, moving, which is a good sign.
Yeah?
Facetious though the thought was, Soujuuro recalled the rodeo machine on the roof of the department store.
Just moving mechanically, basically?
Ah! The painkillers and anesthesia couldn't have been working. New bandages were soaked crimson in seconds. Her fingernails bit into the sheets, her face twisted in agony.
Ugh.
Anesthesia wouldn't be enough, so if she was still alive, she must be conscious too. It worried him that no one seemed concerned about this. In this state, she'd surely lose her mind before her life. In short, the boy never wanted to see anything like this ever again. Bed sheets should be white, not red. With every blink, the color deepened. Soujuuro was finally forced to accept that the bleeding mess in the center of it was her. He felt the blood surge in his veins. The squeaking of the bed, the snip of the scissors, the gasps of agony. It all faded. All he could hear was his own pounding heartbeat. The smell of the blood she choked up sent a wave of nausea through him. His knees abandoned him. And it was perfectly understandable. His brain had to shut his consciousness off to protect itself. The mind could only take so much reality. He would give anything to never see something like that again.
そうか。
Ah.
青子ちゃんは全部わかっているんだね。自分だけのことじゃなくて、この後に起きることも、何が残って何が残らないのかも、全部まっすぐに受け止めている。それでも自分であり続けられるということは、 とても強いことなんだよ。
And on she went. I kinda liked her smile, but she just had to go and say the one thing I wish she hadn't. The last day of middle school seems so long ago. As the ephemeral cherry blossom petals danced around, my little dream was crushed.
So this is like first person Aoko, maybe?
I'd never really considered myself strong. At least until I began remembering those words from time to
青
time.
崎は分かってると思ってた。いや、きっと分かってるんだな。だから、そこが強いんだろうね。
And lately, an idiot who said things like that had appeared in my life. I knew I always judged people more harshly than those around me, but to have someone I'd only known for a few days point that out was like a stab in the chest. Not only that, the words sounded so similar, they made me so angry that I couldn't see straight. Only him and one other person have ever said anything like that to me. Then again, I suppose my sister said the same without actually saying it.
Oh, so her sister wasn't the other one.
You're different from us. But me being me, I took it as a curse rather than a compliment. My actions, my choices, my morals, all the good and bad I've done. When all's said and done, am I really any better than anyone else? Of course I am. I'll never sacrifice myself for those around me. They just had to call me strong. True to myself in spite of how alone, stubborn, and ridiculous I know I can be. When I was younger, it only confused me. I mean, I don't know any other way. I am who I am. The frustrating fact is, I simply don't have the courage to give up. So why? Why do I get treated special for doing what comes naturally? The sunlight stirred her. Maybe it was the pain from having her whole body held together by arcane threads. But Aoko felt like she'd had a silly dream.
Well, it's conscious, that's good.
She gulped air through her painful, parched throat. Gray rays of light shone through a small window, bringing her back to reality.
Do not scratch.
Scratch. Unable to bear it,
Oh!
Aoko attempted to roll over.
Oh, that just sounds painful.
Except she could only move her right arm.
Oh, so she couldn't even move.
She tried lifting her arm, but couldn't feel anything past her elbow.
Oh.
Once she stopped concentrating on her bandaged arm, it fell to the bed like a stone. Okay. Well, not dead at least.
Whoa.
Aoko took in her surroundings, moving only her eyes. Evidently, she'd been asleep in this bed. Unable to feel certain parts of her body, she felt like a robot. The room was tiny and undecorated. It was like an apartment without a tenant. Judging by the good repair, she guessed that she was in Ida Church. Outside, it seemed closer to noon than morning. Clouds filled the sky as usual, dulling the sun's rays. Idly, she thought that it could be enough to melt the snow outside. And then finally, she noticed the figure of a girl. Next to her bed, Alice Kuonji was sitting in a chair, unmoving.
Alice.
She called out to her, all too casually. It was more difficult to talk than she thought. Alice was her typical stoic self, although Aoko did notice a glimpse of concern in her eyes.
寝てないんでしょ。肌が荒れてる。
Oh, no, that's not from not sleeping. That's from having my intestines torn out.
Yeah. Although she probably also
努力はしたわ。
hasn't slept.
けど、
Jeez.
トウコさんに飲まされたもの
Yeah, we
が
had to
解
look pretty rough
毒されるまで眠れそうにないの。
Hmm.
半端な痛みは、こういう時に生ぬるいわね。
Okay.
Alice's uncharacteristically vulgar comment helped Aoko feel a little more like her usual self. She felt reassured having a comrade in arms by her side instead of a concerned neighbor.
そう
And tied up her hair.
アリスもやられたの。
Yeah.
状
Gee,
況
she
は
got you
大
both
体
in
予想
one
してる
night,
けど
huh?
一応細部を聞かせてくれない？
Aoko remained horizontal as she spoke with a cool tone. Despite Aoko's condition, Alice granted her request. After all, they'd known each other for 2 years. Alice knew exactly the kind of anesthesia Aoko Aozaki needed right now. Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Alice Kamonji's battle with Touko Aozaki ended in the former's victory. The Thames Troll was a special familiar even among fairy tale monsters. While lacking the incredible reality-warping abilities of Flat Snark, its sheer mass, durability, and strength were second to none. Touko's rune magecraft was rendered completely ineffective by its stone armor. In all fairness to Touko, most mages wouldn't stand a chance against the bridge giant.
Right, that would have ended the fight there against almost anyone.
The reason lay in the mystic's body. As a general law of magecraft, a mystic will lose to a stronger, older mystic.
Right.
The history of the bridge giant dated back well over 1,000 years. Its origins could be traced to the 1st century when Britannia was conquered by the Romans.
Okay, yeah.
Hail Britannia!
Wow.
Fucking Charles slacking off over here. Conversely, despite having roots dating back to the age of the gods, runes had unfortunately been lost to time.
Well, not completely.
Rune magecraft was little more than an attempt to revive and use a dead art.
Ah, so it's the difference between rune magecraft and primordial runes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
However, monsters from fairy tales like the troll were different. They lived on in the hands of Alice Kawonji. The magical world was vast, but one could probably count on one hand the number of magecraft that still functioned after being chanted into existence a millennia ago, as Alice's ploys did. In contrast, Touko, the rune user, was only about 2 decades old. Carving a rune took only a moment. There was no way a quick spell could defeat the personification of London Bridge in Alice's homeland. That being said,
Yeah.
a beast had appeared that surpassed even those from fairy tales. Beowulf, the Golden Beast. It seemed absurd to compare a small and relatively powerless wolf to a towering stone giant. The Thames Troll's attacks were earthquaking. A direct hit from its 50-ton strikes would smash anything to paste,
It should.
while a glancing blow would still create mincemeat. And yet the beast had attacked head-on and torn right through it. The wolf's fur bristled, and the creature metamorphosed like liquid. It was a breathtaking display. The wolf howled at the moon as if in joy and streaked forth like a bolt of golden light.
In an instant, the duel was decided. Wow, yeah, just right up the thing.
Boy, the wolf must be a saber. It's firing beams over here. The radiant spear of a wolf flew straight through the giant's chest and sank its teeth into its heart. The troll exploded.
Yeah,
As you do.
yeah, it just collapsed, fell apart.
Chunks of stony muscle rained down. Luminous fur scattered in the wind.
Huh.
2 mystics disappeared without a trace and returned from whence they came.
2 mystics.
The curtain fell on a battle straight out of mythology. There among the rubble of the fairy tale monster
Right, so he's an older, more powerful mystic, I guess.
was the golden wolf, standing like a flame. What came after could barely be described as a battle.
It was more of a mauling, yeah.
It was more like the slaughter of defeated pawns. The wolf leapt on Alice, disemboweling her with ease. Its claws cut through the protective wards on Alice's coat like a hot knife through butter. The golden wolf. This wolf which understood human speech could only be the magical creature known as the werewolf. Werewolves were the forest people of Western Europe, with origins far more ancient than the fabricated vampire legends of the continent.
Huh, alright.
However, none were known to have golden coats.
None, huh?
More ancient than the fabricated vampire. So, this wolf should easily
Beat a
be able to take Vlad.
Yes.
Like, not a problem.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Even the legend of Dracula is nothing compared to this, then.
It was said that the most elite werewolf bloodlines boasted silver fur.
Okay.
Silver werewolves were pack leaders, and werewolves of that caliber were considered phantasmal rather than merely magical creatures.
So what the heck does gold mean?
But a golden werewolf was superior even to that, and so transcended human knowledge. Alice Koonji's ploys were among the ultimate mystics to have been created by humankind.
This was created by nature. Yeah.
And therefore, the Golden Wolf could only have been a mystic born of the planet. Oh good, it's Excalibur.
Kind of, yeah, it's on that level, I guess.
When a divine construct, yeah.
More or less.
When a celestial body has been active for millions, even billions of years, occasionally a miraculous droplet of creation spills over into our current world. This mystic had to be over 3,000 years old. A human mage. No, any mage living in the current magical paradigm would be helpless against the Golden Wolf. Not even in theory would they stand a chance of defeating it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which meant that this werewolf was Aoko and Alice's worst nightmare.
Right, something that no modern mage could ever defeat.
Fortunately for them, if they choose to use it, they have a non-modern mage. By which I mean a non-mage entirely.
Well, yeah, if you use non-magical means, maybe.
So maybe this weak, this weak little normal boy can 1v1 a Golden Wolf monster.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oops.
Oh, went back.
Yeah. Nudge the left trigger.
アリスがお手上げの相手だものね。私がどうにかできるはずもなかったわけだ。
Yeah, with only a couple years of training, you really didn't have much to go
要は
on.
魔術でなければいいのよね。
Well, I mean, yeah,
Maybe we should get a gun.
that'd be
テムズ
good.
の動力は魔力だけど、テムズのパンチは純粋な衝撃でしょ。当たりさえすればぺしゃんこ
Well,
じゃないの。
that didn't work.
Well, she didn't get the chance to punch it.
Well, in the image, it tore through its punch.
残念だけど、
Yeah.
あれ、基本は狼の姿なだけで、状況によって形を変えるわ。
Oh.
テムズの腕を受け止めた時は大猿みたいになってい
Turned
たし、
into a giant ape.
機関銃やロケットで狙っても
Werewolf?
かわされるか、体の硬い生き物に変化して防ぐんじゃないかしら。
Huh. Yeah, the morph skill. Kinda OP when you use it right.
地球上の生き物なら何にでも変われるってことか。 でもまあ、質量までは無理かな。
So you can turn into any living creature. Somebody make sure this guy never finds out about incarnated Gilgamesh.
Well, yeah.
基本は2メートル台の生物の
Probably only
いいとこ取りって
animals.
あたりで勘弁してほしいよね。
Jesus, what is a human if not an animal?
Generally, and regardless of reality, in Nasu's works, humanity is treated as different from animals in the planet. So, I doubt he can... He might be able to imitate a human, but he would still be a phantasmal creature.
Well, divine construct in the Golden Wolf case.
Well, yeah, something like that. Probably at least on the level of Pegasus.
Good God, though, imagine if he could just transform into any living creature, transforms into an incarnated Gilgamesh, gets all those powers, and is still immune to magecraft on top of it.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing that doesn't actually work. Like, he could imitate the form, but he wouldn't actually get a human's
すごく
powers.
関係ないけど、深海の生き物に変わら
Sea
れたら
creature.
ちょっと怖いと思わない？
You mean like some kind of giant octopus?
I mean...
Man, what does
That
Nasu
was-
have against giant octopi?
I mean, that was summoning Cthulhu. I don't know if that counts as an animal, but...
Aoko narrowed her eyes as she bemoaned the creature's existence. The conversation appeared to have revived her fighting spirit. Once again, her eyes were focused and her thoughts clear. Aoko was back to her usual self.
その後はアリス
Yeah,
うま
how
く逃げられ
exactly
た
are you alive?
I pathetically crawled my way into
Oh.
a phone booth,
Yeah.
called Soujuuro, hung up on him, and accepted my death, and then I was halfway up a hill.
Yeah.
いいえ私もあ
Oh,
の狼にやられた
that's...
Phrasing.
Yeah, no, there's no dojins for that one.
I don't know, are there dojins for that one?
There's barely anything from Mahoyo, so you're not gonna find much.
Yeah, that's true.
Too obscure at the moment.
Sad. After the movies will fix that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Especially if they leave that line in the movie.
Yeah.
Alice explained how the wolf had pinned her to the ground. Incidentally, she kept the part about Soujuuro rather short. Alice herself wasn't entirely sure why she felt it necessary to leave most of that information out. She also didn't mention this Soujuuro that brought her to the church.
Right, yes.
うーんアリスが相手をした後休む間もなく
No,
私
she
のところ
stopped
に来た
off
わけ
briefly to call Soujuuro first.
Well, yeah, she's cutting that information out, I guess.
初めから昨日で決着をつけるつもりだったんだ兄貴姉妹かなここぞって時のタイミングは一緒だったの忘れてた
Yeah, you wanted to try to end everything too, huh?
切り札は見せたからには敵を殲滅しなくちゃいけない姉貴は視点を残り2つにしておいて自分の正体を告げてこっちの戦力を分けさせたその時点で奥の手を投入してくることは覚悟してたけどまさか人狼なんて気はもの
You guys probably would have stood a chance if it was just her and her puppets.
Well, I think Alice straight up beat her.
Yeah.
If it was just her and her puppets. Like
Right, she kind of had to call Beowulf.
that was rest in peace for Touko without magical wolf doggo.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Aoko let out a heavy sigh. Alice nodded silently in agreement.
それはそれとして宗十郎がアリスを助けに行くなんてね感謝しなくちゃいけないんだろうけどバカな真似してくれた
Yeah, because now he put himself on Toko's hit list.
Meanwhile, Soujuuro from the corner, having been quiet up to this point, I can hear you, you know.
Yeah.
私が東子の立場なら報復の可能性は一つ残らず排除する
Yeah.
Well, it'd be difficult for her to do that with him under church protection at the time being.
Right.
私たちがどうにかなった後猫の手首ひねるみたいに
I
片
mean,
付けられるわ
theoretically, it should be like this a snap of her finger, basically.
しずきくんならこちらで保護してもらってるけど
Aoko's eyes widened.
うわどういう風の吹き回しアリスがあいつの世話を焼くなんてだって放っておいたら青子が怒ると思って
I just didn't want you to get angry that I got him killed.
Yeah, I'm sure that was your reasoning.
I
Alice.
know.
Alice responded with her eyes closed. Aoko frowned in silent indignation, as if she wanted to protect where Alice got, and protest where Alice got that idea from.
まあいいけどそれじゃあ今ここにいるんだ宗十郎
Check the foot of your
姿が
bed.
見えないけどどうしたの
Look down. Still unable to move her neck, she looked around as best she could.
彼なら気分を悪くして倒れたわ
Oh,
今は営利
Oh,
神
yeah,
の
his
寝室を
knees
借りて
gave
いるけど
yeah, he
And
really
then he
wasn't.
passed out.
Yeah, I guess he really wasn't ready to see all that surgery stuff.
Aoko furrowed her brow and collapsed. Sure, he was under the church's protection, but had Touko set the wheels in motion for his death?
何があったの一体
He saw you getting operated on.
He's a little squeamish, you know.
Alice paused for a moment before carefully answering the question.
それが彼あなたを見て嘔吐したの
She decided to be blunt. Aoko was taken aback. For several seconds, dim sunlight leaked through the window. Once she found her voice again, she muttered,
いいけどひどい侮辱よねそれって
Yeah, well, geez, that's rude.
Perhaps amused or perhaps exhausted from staying up all night, Alice cracked a tiny giggle.
何よ。そんなにおかしい、アリス。さあ、どうかしらね。けど、しずきくんにも言い分はあるでしょう。今。
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Aoko praised her physical state.
As best you could.
She was dressed in a hospital gown. Bandages covered the majority of her body. Her right leg was in a plaster cast.
God.
Since she could move her right arm, she brought her bandaged fingers up to her throat.
Oh, she could move that much now?
Boy, your magic circuits and or crest are doing a terrible job of healing you.
Yeah, I know. After all night, you're still having that much trouble.
そっか。思い出した。
Oh.
ガキ、まず私の首元に噛みついたんだっけ。
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Touko.
tried to do that to me too, and Touko told him to stop.
Must be nice.
すごかったわよ。首が噛み砕かれるのって。ゴキンって音が頭の中に響いて。
Yeah,
気持ち
Touko
悪い
actually
った
let
ら
her
よか
get
ったわ。
mauled.
ち、あそこから好き勝手やられたもんだから、つい忘れてた。
Aoko sounded upbeat, but the look in her eyes was anything but. She'd been torn to pieces, but her life had been mercifully spared.
Yeah.
At least she hadn't been dismembered. She'd been bitten, beaten, and her bones broken. Magic crests containing the Aozaki's secret arts decorated her body. Even if her spine was broken, as long as her body was alive, the crest would piece it back together.
Ugh, yeah.
Eventually.
Those things can do an amazing job.
Despite the crests easing the pain a little, she still hurt enough to want to kill that wolf 100 times over.
視点は全部壊された。これで三崎市の霊脈はフリーってわけね。
Oh, that sucks.
全容を把握してるのはうちらだけの特権だったけど、トーコは昔から知ってる以上、解析の手間もいらないと。真剣な話、所有権の書き換えまで何時間かかると思う？
Tonight?
Well, it sounded like the priest might have realized he had to transfer administration rights or something.
Yeah, or at least the church's recognition or something.
トーコさんなら2日かからないでしょうね。
Right.
支店の修復は土地そのものに任せるしかない。
Why though?
So she has to take them first, the new ones for herself or something?
この町はもう彼女のものよ。
Ah, okay.
明日
So
の
it's
夜
not
明け
really
とともに
hers
破
until the
産する
sigils
我が身とは
regenerate
ね。
then. Well,
それでアリスの方はどうなの？まだいけ
tomorrow
る？
morning you lose everything and you are unable to move.
Currently.
Yeah.
思考魔術だけなら少しは。あとは小道具に頼ること
Well,
になるでしょうね。
trinkets are better than nothing.
Trinkets are better than being immobile.
ああ、お話にならないか。
Aoko went silent again, staring straight at the ceiling. Alice knew all too well what that look meant. Aoko, no!
それでもやるんでしょ、青子は。まあね、私諦める
I
なんてで
mean,
きないから。
you could. You just give up on the whole magic thing and live a normal life.
Nonsense.
で、そういうアリスはどうなのよ。私は一度自分のものになったものを決して人には渡さない。
What's mine is mine, and what's mine is also mine. Basically. Aoko muttered in agreement to Alice's terse response. Alice's intense attachment to her possessions was enough to make even Aoko shiver. Once something is mine, it stays mine. Take it a step further, betrayal was an unforgivable sin. This personal motto was further proof of her uncompromising nature.
オッケー、決まりね。
Okay.
じゃあ、悪いけどもう少し休ませて。 今晩までに
Yep.
なんとか動けるようにす
All
るから。
ends tonight, huh?
If the nun who stitched her back together had heard that, she would have fainted.
Yeah. Well,
Aoko could barely even eat in her current condition. Even so, Alice nodded and stood up. As Aoko's partner, she knew that once her mind was made up, she had to trust her. Silently, the girl in black began to take her leave. She stopped in front of the door, her hand to her mouth.
アリス
Aoko was curious, suspecting that Alice had something silly to say again. Quite the contrary. Instead of blushing, Alice furrowed her brow like she was thinking over a difficult riddle.
アリス
Moshi mosh!
oh, she just said Alice?
Aoko called out. But Alice remained with her back to her roommate.
なんで間に合ったのかしら。
Yeah.
Dude ran really hard.
Well, not necessarily. We saw that weird static, remember? When it was transitioning from the phone call and back? Like something weird happened.
She spoke as if the words had accidentally burst out from her thoughts. Alice's question was about something Aoko could not possibly have guessed.
あの時もそう。
Did it happen
私た
before?
ち始発で帰ってきたの。
Even though we took the first train back.
She carried on mumbling at the door. Unable to find an answer, Alice gloomily put her hand on the doorknob.
言いたくないなら別にいいけど。何がどうしたっていうのよ、アリス。
Alice didn't respond. She opened the door to leave the room and left a few words hanging in the air.
どうでもいいことだけど。
Or it might be time magic.
Hard to say.
ゆいかさんにはしずきくんは見えなかったそうよ。アオコ。
What? Well, is she actually blind?
Yes. They did say
They
this
mentioned her
once-
eyes are closed, but...
I'm pretty sure they mentioned at one point, like maybe back when we first met her when they were here for the cleanup, that she was blind.
And she was doing all that surgery?
Right, that's why I was so surprised.
I don't remember her being actually blind.
The door closed with a thud.
そりゃまた珍しい。
It might be that she sees in like a different way.
Like magic aura or something?
Something like that.
She can't see Shizuki, huh?
Aoko mumbled to herself from her bed, seeming slightly happier. Blind since birth,
Okay.
Yuika Suse saw the world through her other senses. She was especially sensitive to enemies or those who bore ill will,
Okay,
and
fair.
typically viewed almost everyone as a threat.
Huh.
Presumably because that was the easiest thing to pick up on. So when she said she couldn't see Soujuuro, that meant he was completely harmless.
Sounds kinda right.
And then... that harmless individual decided to pay the small sick room a visit. Soujuuro looked like a stiff breeze could knock him over.
Still feeling weak, huh?
Made Aoko wonder who the real patient
何
was.
しに来たのあんた。
Wants to check up on you?
So, that's static.
Yeah.
That if Touko's doing some kind of weird time manipulation bullshit,
Something.
that would explain how she could have. That would explain how she could have called from the same phone booth
That Alice
that
used.
Alice called from,
Right.
despite Alice clearly being in there already.
Something?
Like,
Yeah, like she... I don't know. It would explain why the order of events was so weird.
right? Though Aoko could barely move, she was still able to give him the cold shoulder. His expression gaunt, Soujuuro grunted something or other before beginning to speak more coherently.
アリスが客間で眠ったから礼拝堂にいたんだけど、人が集まりだしたんで、 こっちに逃げてきた。
There were these people, and they started talking to some invisible sky being, and I got really uncomfortable, so I left.
Well, it was just time for business to
クリ
start,
スマスだっ
so
てのによくやるわ。
he just didn't want to get in anyone's way.
It was indeed Christmas, but regular Mass was on Christmas Eve. The ones gathering in the chapel must have been truly devout followers. Tourists were rare in Misaki, after all. So much so that almost no one visited the area this time of year. The worshippers must have been locals.
それで別にどうってことないでしょ。探せば顔見知りもいる
Yeah,
んじゃない
that's true. Probably did know a few of them. At least from the market.
Aoko was as distant as ever. She clearly hadn't forgotten the fact that he'd vomited when he saw her, and a hint of spite leaked into her voice.
Jeez.
Then again,
いや、ちょうどいい機会だからいろいろと聞きたくなって、少し話をしていいかな。
since Aoko was always in a bad mood, Soujuuro didn't pick up on anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
She wanted to tell him to go drink some water because he looked ready to collapse, but he didn't seem aware of his own condition. And to be fair to him, Alice did say Aoko was in bad shape. Given how unaccustomed to blood Soujuuro was, it was no wonder he'd fainted.
ああ、そうか。話なんてまだ無理だな。すまない。出直してくる。
Soujuuro seemed to have misunderstood Aoko being deep in thought as not having enough stamina to speak. Naturally, this didn't sit well with Aoko.
待ちなさいよ。話だけなら別に構わないわ。やる気持て余してるし、暇つぶしがてらに相手してあげるわよ。ま、退屈しのぎにしてはちょっとグレード下がるけど、
Wow.
この際贅沢言ってられないし。
Soujuuro sensed this was going to be rough, but took a seat on the chair next to the bed.
で、何が聞きたいの？
Aoko spoke energetically in an attempt to distract from her weakened appearance. Naturally, she knew she was fooling no one.
やっぱり青崎は強いな。安心した。
Oh yeah, I'm super great!
Yeah.
I can't move more than my right arm, but I'm doing fucking fantastic! Soujuuro said, nodding in admiration.
This doofus.
Aoko shot him an unimpressed look in response to the unwanted praise. And also unwarranted.
あんたってほんと間が悪いわ。いいよ、
Yeah.
別に。
She was just thinking about how much she hated that compliment.
私の夢の話だから、そっちが気に病むことは。
She glowered, remembering. Come to think of it, almost everyone in her dream was here in the church, turning her dour expression into an irritated one. You were there, and he was there.
Yeah.
This is the Wizard of Oz now?
やめやめ、こんなつまんない話。
Yeah,
聞きたい
spit
こ
it
と
out
がある
already.
なら手っ取り早く済ませちゃってよ、宗十郎。
よかった。じゃあ、まず今の状況を聞かせてくれないか。トウコさんの話じゃ、俺も無関係じゃないそうだし。
Right, yeah, she wants to kill me now, so I'd like to know why.
Soujuuro spoke calmly, making Aoko wonder if he really understood the gravity of his situation.
Nope.
Roughly like 9.81 meters per second squared. He was Touko's enemy now. He was defenseless and needed protection.
Yeah.
Neither Aoko nor Alice could help him, and the church could withdraw their sanctuary at any moment.
Yeah.
He'd picked a side, and that had turned him from innocent bystander into target. The answer he sought was as simple as that. He knew the facts. He wasn't a mage, and was therefore powerless.
まあ、それでもアリスは助けられたわけだし。
He did indeed.
Aoko did owe him for that. To say thanks, she decided to at least give him the whole story up until now.
よし、今までの経緯も含めて軽く説明してみましょうか。
It all started 17 years ago when I was born.
私も何
Okay,
か
maybe
得るも
not
の
that
がある
far
かもしれ
back.
ないし。
Yeah. Maybe you'll remember something important. Who knows?
Aoko composed herself before beginning her explanation. The battle began at the end of November.
So, like, just a month ago, basically?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh, wow.
A lot had happened since then, including meeting Soujuuro.
Yeah, he's only known her for less than a month,
事の起
huh?
こりは1ヶ月前
Yeah. Well, we're pretty close to time here. And This
Yeah.
seems as good a place as any to break.
Right, so next time we get the big flashback to how all this started, probably.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we actually go back a little further, too, to that stuff from, when she was still a kid living with her parents.
You mean the thing after the cat got chewed up by the engine?
Her grandfather's workshop and stuff, because that's got to come back at some point.
Also, we're still not entirely clear if the cat getting murdered in the opening
Yeah.
in the opening minutes was
Aoko
Aoko or
Touko.
Touko.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's Aoko, because we just came back to that art style and it sounded like Aoko talking in first person. But could be Toko's backstory, I don't know yet. So either way, we need information on that. We need information on what the heck Touko came back for. And yeah, I guess we really need a plan because apparently it all ends tonight. Christmas night.
Christmas. Well,
And yeah, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, witch on the holy night and all that. And somehow we gotta get Aoko moving and find a way to defeat a divine beast, basically.
At this point, I'm going with the answer is Soujuuro punches it really hard
Yeah, maybe. I don't
because
know.
he's not magecraft and therefore it doesn't hard counter him.
Yeah, or maybe like you learn some trick on the mountains or something.
Yeah, for dealing with wolves.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to like punch him in the snout or something.
Yeah, he just boops it in the snoot and he's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, just
I
boop.
can't fight that.
Just boop the snoot and
Yeah.
he'll give up.
Yeah.
Touko, he was mean to me.
Yeah. And just wrestle with him a little bit, you know?
Yeah, as you do with unruly puppers. So this is the way.
Yeah, so that's a lot to get through.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But it sounds like we are starting to wrap things up and then maybe get an epilogue chapter.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, we're at least going to begin the final conflict after the flashback bit here.
I would suspect.
Yeah. But we'll see how that all goes next time. So until then, we'll catch you later.